Welcome back. In this video we're going to talk about the Air Observation Post, or what's also called the AOP. And to see if you get one of these is you'll go to the book, like I got the Blood, Guts, and Glory book here. So you'd go to your book and see if it's part of what you could get. And down here in the corner, Air Observation Post. It tells me to go to page 42. So I go to page 42, and there it is. So I can have the L4 Grasshopper AOP for 40 points. And that's pretty much all it tells you about it. So I'm going to go over its special rules in this video. Now, one thing is, this is considered an independent team. So again, it's not going to count for your platoons as far as, you know, reserves, or not reserves, but for morale or company morale checks, stuff like that. We don't count that. But unlike most independent teams, this cannot join any other platoon or team or independent team where he's always by himself and nobody can join him. So this guy's a solo guy. It is also treated like this kind of aircraft for certain things. And that is basically if somebody wants to shoot at it, or they want to do the fighter intercept, which I talked in the last video, well, not the last video, but I talked about when the video about the ground attack aircraft and how you bring it in. I talked about how they can eliminate that aircraft. So this can be also eliminated by being shot at by anti-aircraft or being intercepted if somebody else, like the Germans, have bought their own aircraft into the game. Oops, you can't even see it. There it is. So if they bought their own aircraft, they can use it to destroy. And a little difference between these two also is, once this is destroyed, it's just like any other unit, your riflemen, your tanks and all that, it's gone for the rest of the game. This keeps coming back if you make your roll. If this gets destroyed, it does not come back. So there are some similarities between ground attack aircraft and that one. And the similarities really are just how do you shoot it or how do you take it down. Alright, this also, you saw it was only 40 points. You're like, wow, that's pretty cheap. Well, this thing has no weapons, so it's not going to attack, period. So that also means it's not going to assault, but nobody can assault it either. I mean, how are your guys going to jump up way up in the air to assault this aircraft? So now there is one little thing, another thing that's kind of a limitation on this, and that's on all aircraft actually, whether it's that one or this one, is they cannot operate at night. So if you're playing some night rules, it can't be used. So let's say you're using dawn rules from the game. So I'm going to take this guy out of here. This does apply to the aircraft too. So you're playing dawn rules. It's night. Dawn breaks. Now it's daylight. On your turn, your first turn, you can bring this out. So you just have to wait for the light. Actually, you will have to take it out there. Another one is if you're playing dusk, let's say, and it's been dusk and it's been flying around doing its thing, and then it turns into night, it's gone. And if you're just playing all-night battle, you won't even get to use it. So it does have its limitations. Can't attack, but it can't assault, but it also means it can't not be assaulted. And if it's nighttime, it can't be used. Now, another difference between these two is that when this one's done shooting, because it's the last thing shooting in the shooting step, it's taken off the table, and you hope your next turn, you know, you make how many ever dice in your pool you have. You're hoping to get a 5 or a 6, and I did get a 5. So I get to bring it in, but then my dice pool is going down. This is different. You don't have to roll to bring this in. It If it's daytime and it's your first turn, you bring it in. And it stays on the table. Unlike this guy that gets taken off every time he's done shooting, and you try to bring him back. This doesn't shoot, but it never gets taken off the table. So there are some, even though it's an airplane, it does have some big differences between it and the ground attack aircraft. Now, how do you place the AOP? It's pretty much the same as this. I mean, it can't be within the base, the stand can't be within 2 inches of a building or a full rest. We can't place the aircraft on top of a linear terrain. So it's the same rules as placing this. And of course, there's some bad guys down here. We cannot put this on top of any model and do that. So it's got the same placement rules. And it can go within 2 inches. Let me scoot this over so you can see the bad guys here. It's one of those two, like the other airplane, it can go within 2 inches. Now they're not assaulting each other because this thing's way up in the sky. But you can go within 2 inches of another model. Now, just like this can move within 2 inches of an enemy team, enemy teams can move within 2 inches of it. They're not going to really interfere with each other. The only way they interfere is neither can be on top of each other. They can be next to each other, but not on top. Alright, so I'm going to take these guys away. Get that out of the way. So how do you move this aircraft around? Because, you know, men, they can move, you know, up to 6 inches. They can run up to 12, but, you know, they can move up to 6 inches. Your tanks, most of them, you know, they can go that 12 inches if they're not going through any terrain and stuff like that. So how does the AOP move? Well, let's look back in our arsenal here. So let me get this open. And if we look at tanks, you know, you got your movement standard tank, standard tank, standard tank. There's a light tank. So we're looking at their movement here, their mobility. Light tank, standard tank, half track. So it moves as a half track, moves as a light tank. So let's go to the AOP. So I've gone through the tanks. There's a warrior here. Tank destroyers. No, it's not going to be that. Support weapons. No, it's not a support weapon. So we keep moving. Is it artillery? No, it doesn't shoot artillery. Okay. Anti-aircraft? Definitely not. Reconnaissance? Well, maybe. No, it's not considered reconnaissance. Vehicle machine guns? Well, it's definitely not a gun team. So it's not like machine gun, mortar, or anything like that. So we can go on. It's not a howitzer. It's not an infantry team. It's not a transport team because it's not carrying troops or anything around, or, you know, weapons. It's not towing weapons, you know, like the howitzers or anything like that. Aircraft. All right, here we go. It's not there. Well, the reason you won't find it in the arsenal is, let me bring this down. It has no weapons, so there's not going to be stats for that. It has no armor, because remember, aircrafts don't have armor, but you do have that kind of that flying tank you got to watch out for. So it's nothing like that. And if you notice, when you bring in your ground aircraft, you could put it wherever you wanted, as long as you know, not within 2 inches of building and stuff like that. So you're not limited, per se, limited where you can put this. You just put it down, it does this thing, or gets shot up or whatever, and then it's gone. This guy, it could be at this side of the battlefield, and then when it's your turn to do your movement, you can go clear to the other side of the battlefield and place it. So it's like your ground attack aircraft. Where do you want it that turn? So it can go anywhere on the battlefield that it can legally be placed. So that's why there's no movement rate for it. its movement rate is basically the battlefield. And then once you place it down, it stays there through the opponent's turn. Then when it comes your turn, you can keep it there or you can move it again. It's up to you. So that's how you move the aircraft. Really simple. Where do you want it? This turn I want over here. Next turn I want it over there where the bad guys are with their artillery hiding behind that hill. And I'm going to use this to get them. So what do we use? Why did I do that? So what do we use the air observer for? Well, he's just like another observing team. So like I have my long toms, and they come with some spotters, some observers. Let me get the airplane out of the way. And they're an independent team, so they don't have to be with the long toms. I could put them anywhere in my deployment zone, and they like to get up high or something like that so they get a really good look over the terrain to see the bad guys, so it's easier to hit with these. Well, this acts just like this, and it can go anywhere on the battlefield. And the normal rule is if this moves, it can't observe this turn. The turn that it moves, it cannot observe. This can. This can move, stop, you're done moving, then it's ready for your shooting step. You can use him, even though he moved, you can use him to observe. Now, he doesn't come with these. He actually comes with nothing. This is it. You have, when you purchase it for 40 points, this is what you get. A thing that moves around the battlefield, wherever you can legally place it, but it doesn't attack. It can be shot at, but it cannot be assaulted. It can't assault you. But it can observe. It can spot. But who can it spot for? Well, we're going to go back to one of those teams we've talked about when we was talking about artillery, the staff team. So if my long toms here are sitting on the table and there's some bad guys behind some woods or something like that, and I just can't see them to really wreck their day with these long toms, because these long toms are pretty nasty. My observer's over somewhere. He can't see them. I can use this, go behind that hill. So I may just set that up. Just hold on for just a second. Okay, so here's my observer, and the long toms are back here, and they've been getting decimated, and if you look, he really can't see anybody because they are behind that building. So he can't see them unless he moves, but then maybe he's spotting other targets, but he really needs to get these guys. So I'm going to set the camera down here. So what I can do is, when it's my turn, move this in back here. Now, what do I see if this airplane observer? Well, look at that. There is no concealment or anything like that. They are completely in the open. Now, one of the rules is, remember I said you can go within 2 inches? You can be up to 16 inches away with this guy and still use him to observe, but he's got to have line of sight. So if he's on the other side of the building, let me see if that's what that's going to do. If he's on the other side of the building, can he see him? So if he's over here, get down to his, wow, he couldn't see either. So I could not even use him to observe for this group. He would have to be on the other side. So he still has to have line of sight, but you can be up to like 16 inches away from your target. Now, let me get this settled down here. Well, that's great, yeah. But let's go back to this artillery here. Let me bring them forward a little bit. Let's look at this. Well, if we look at this, this is what I've got, and their commanders out here. This spotter, of course, is somewhere, so we'll just That's their commanders out here. So the spotter's somewhere. Can I use that AOP? If we look at what I've got here. No. Again, it requires them to have a staff team. If they have a staff team, I can use this to spot for them, because he'll call in to the staff team. They'll let them know where they need to hit. If there is no staff team, can't use him to observe for them. So he can be used for any artillery unit one time per turn. Maybe this turn he'll be for this, and then next turn he'll be for my 105s or something. You know, he can observe for any of my artillery teams one time per shooting step, as long as they have a staff team. All right, let me get set up for the next thing. I guess I should also explain that when you are doing line of sight, do it from the aircraft. I think they say like do it from the cockpit. Now the revised rules is we look from the cockpit. So from where the cockpit's at, what can they see? Do they have line of sight to the target? And also when you're measuring the 16 inches, go from the model. Don't use this. Don't use the stand. Use the model. Are you within 16 inches of the target you're observing? Now there is a rule called all guns repeat, and that is that rule when you range in and you use the staff team, you can re-hit that same spot without having to range in. Well, if this was the observer you used, you still have to use him to keep that ranged in going. So like I'm ranged in on the Stug here, and I used him to observe. If he gets to where he cannot see, so let's say he's behind this building now and he cannot see the Stug there. Let me move this forward a little bit. So he was over here spotting. They used him to observe. They ranged in. Boom, they're going to use all guns repeat. He's over here now. Well, if you look, he can't see it. That means you can't use that. So I've already gone over that kind of that rule that you have to use the same team shooting. Even if they lost some people, you still use same teams. And you have to use the same observer. So you can use him if you're legally able to use him to having that staff team. But if you want to keep that bombardment going in that spot without having to roll to range in, he's going to have to be able to see that target. He's going to be within 16 inches and have line of sight. Now there is another little special rule that, wow, this is actually a pretty nice little rule. When he observes, he's got a really good, I want to say bird's eye view, but that's kind of what it is, of the battlefield. And then you're trying to range in. So he's spotted. We're going with the Stug. And you're going to need, let's say he's got some concealment or something. So you're going to need, okay, so he's got a little bit of concealment. So you're going to need, let's say he's veteran. So you're going to need a 5. So you roll, and of course I get a 5. So you rolled a 2. So remember, you get 3 chances to range in. So a 1 and a 4. We failed. Well, what the AOP allows you to do, if you use them, you can re-roll the last one to try again. And of course I failed. So let me try it again. Needing 5s. Missed. Missed. Wow. And missed. So I get to re-roll that, and oh, it was a 5. So I hit. So he does allow a re-roll on the on that third attempt. So that's a nice little bonus. Not only does he get to try to get rid of their concealment, he gives you an extra chance to hit the target. All right, so how does the opponent, or you, if they're using one, how do you destroy this? Okay, because maybe you've been, wrecking havoc with this thing, getting really good shots for your artillery, or the opponent's been using it on you. How do you destroy this? Well, it's just like any other aircraft. Fighter intercept, I'm going to hit a little bit later. I'm just going on with anti-aircraft first. So remember, with anti-aircraft, you had self-defense anti-aircraft, you had heavy anti-aircraft, and you had anti-aircraft. And I talked about that in the one video, I think it was the first one about the ground attack, which I'm not going to go over that again on this. However, there is one thing that's a little different about this. Remember, like the Shermans, they had that self-defense anti-aircraft, so they could only attack that. Let me bring the ground attack aircraft in. They could only attack that ground attack aircraft if one of their team members was under the template that the aircraft was, bringing down on them, and then they were able to shoot them. Everybody else with the heavy anti-aircraft or the anti-aircraft was able to shoot them, whether or not they were under that template. It was a self-defense that was a little different. Well, this guy doesn't shoot. Yeah, the template's brought down, but it's not him shooting cannons, bombs, machine guns, and all that at them. So, the rule's a little different here. Anybody that has anti-aircraft can shoot at it. So that means even these guys, let's say he calls in an artillery strike, and there's these stugs up here, and these stugs are under the template, but they're not. If it was this, they can't shoot, because he's attacking them. They're kind of staying down, hoping they're not going to be hit. So he's doing that. They can't shoot at him. However, he's not shooting. He's just calling in the shot. They can shoot at him. They can shoot at him. Anybody that has anti-aircraft can shoot at this if they have a line of sight and it's in range of their guns. And remember to add 8 inches to your range when you're shooting at aircraft. Now, when you're shooting at this is the very, very last thing to shoot. They shoot before it does its attack. If it survives, it does its attack. The person's shooting step is over. It's taken off. They go to assault step. This is a little different. This doesn't shoot. So, if the opponent wants to destroy this with anti-aircraft, they have to wait till all your shooting's done, then decide, I want to shoot that thing. Then they're going to be the last thing to shoot in your shooting step. It kind of sounds weird that they're shooting in your shooting step to destroy something of yours, but that's the way it goes with this. These guys can shoot at it, but it has to be the very last thing in that shooting step. And then they get to shoot it. So just remember, anytime you're trying to destroy any type of aircraft, it's going to be at the end of the shooting step. And it's on the opponent's turn. So if these are my aircraft, the German player is going to be shooting them on my turn. If these are the Germans' aircraft, I'm going to be shooting them at the end of his shooting step. I shouldn't have said end of his turn, end of his shooting step, end of my shooting step. So you shoot, gosh, I explained that horribly. Let's set it up this way. This is the way to explain it. Okay, it's my turn. This is my aircraft. It's my turn. I'm getting ready to throw my template down. And I kind of explained this already. So before it attacks, and once I shoot this, my shooting step's going to be over. So now the anti-aircraft can shoot at it. If it survives, it gets to do its attack. Now let's go to the AOP. It's calling in a strike. The artillery, my long toms, are going to be shooting down at these stugs. They do not get to shoot. It's not the end of the shooting step. I can use this for my first shot, second shot, third shot, fourth shot, whatever shot I want, I can use this anytime in that shooting step. Unlike the regular aircraft. It has to be the very last thing. This can be used anytime on my turn, on my shooting step, to have my long tom shoot. So we go, woo, boom, and do all my stuff. Now, I'm done shooting. My rifleman shot or whatever, my other artillery shot, my tanks have shot. I'm done. It's the end of the shooting step. Does my opponent on my shooting step, at the end of it, want to try to shoot this with the anti-aircraft and destroy it. If they don't, we move on. We go to the assault step, and it stays on the table. Remember to take this off when you're done with shooting step. This stays. Now there is one other way to destroy the AOP, and that is with the fighter intercept. So if you remember the fighter intercept, they have to have purchased an aircraft, a ground attack aircraft. So it's not going to be AOP on AOP action because they don't have, it'd be like ramming. I don't think they want to ram each other because remember, they don't have any weapons. So they got the fighter aircraft, and they want to, the opponent's going, I don't want to shoot the anti-aircraft at it because, you know, some of those things they can't move it double, they can't shoot on the next turn, they can't assault, all that kind of stuff. So he's going to use his ground attack aircraft. How does he do that? So how the opponent does, or you, I mean, you can try, I'm just using Germany against the US here as an example. How they would do that is they have their dice pool. So we're going to say 5 dice left for this aircraft, you know, to bring it in on their starting step. There was that, you know, ambushes and all that, and, you know, company morale check. Actually, I should just bring that up just for a refresher. So if we look here, so at the starting step, so it's the German player's turn. Sole surviving, company morale, victory conditions, and air support. So they're going to roll for air support. Now they got a choice. They can roll for the air support to bring it in normally and have it attack my Shermans, you know, or, you know, something like that if they want. Or they can roll it to try to shoot this down. The thing is, they can't do both. They can't try to shoot this down and then use this to attack the tanks. It's one or the other. So if it wants to bring it in to, you know, to shoot at the tanks, it's at normal 5 or 6, and oh, I got a 6. Wait, that's Germany. Yeah, okay, but so he's successful. He's going to bring us in, and he's going to roll that die. See how many planes he gets. He got 1. Do I want to, you know, and then we'll see later. Do I want to shoot it down? If he wants to bring it in to shoot this down, take the tank out of there, he has to do that fighter intercept roll. So you have to roll a 6. And if you look, oh, got a 6. So that means this is gone for the rest of the game. They lose 1 die out of the pool, but it does not come in to shoot my tanks that turn. It's busy destroying that. So that is one way to destroy that aircraft. Now, let's think about this. He came in, he's going to destroy my aircraft. I also have a ground attack aircraft or an intercept. I can then decide, you know what, I don't want you to do that. Let's say I have 5 dice in my pool. If I roll a 6, I prevent him from coming in and shooting that. So I'm going to use my pool of dice and try to get a 6, and I did, got a 6. So that means this is being chased around by that. My AOP is okay, and I lose 1 die in my pool as usual. Remember, whenever you roll for a ground attack or fighter intercept, your pool starts dropping until you get down to 1 die, and you never go below that. So just to recap, they can decide, I'm going to bring it in to shoot the tanks or infantry, wherever, 5 or 6. Or I'm going to take care of this thing. Fighter intercept, need a 6. If they're successful, I can then, if I have a ground attack aircraft or a fighter intercept aircraft, I can then go, well, I don't want you destroying that. So then I can roll my fighter intercept, and if I'm successful, you did not destroy it. This is not brought in the game. We both lose 1 die from our pool, down to a minimum of 1. So that is how you destroy an AOP. Anti-aircraft, and remember, anybody can shoot it this time. Just line of sight and in range, and I've already gone how you shoot them. Or if they have their own ground attack aircraft, they can bring it in to destroy that. The last thing I want to talk about with the AOP is I was thinking about going through some of the country's rules, but this is such a special rule for this that I feel like it deserves to be in this video. Because then, if you don't even play United States, at least you can understand some of the stuff this can do. Like it can move around and observe. It gives that re-roll. But it also, if you're American, you get another special thing with this, and that's called column security. And what happens is, I used my, oops, that's my company commander, or platoon commander. Here it is. I used the observer for the long toms to call in a strike. I didn't use him. So I used this. So he didn't do anything that turn. Well, what I can use him for is that if he did not observe that turn, when it's the opponent's turn and they have stuff in ambush, nothing in ambush can be placed within 12 inches of this if it has line of sight. So if I put, let's say, these woods over here and I can get so close to the woods, that means I limit where they can put their ambushes. So if I'm deciding, you know, I got a really good spot here, this guy can see the target, no problem. I don't need to use him. I can use him to start trying to block where ambushes can be placed against me. So there's another bonus, but that's an American special rule, United States special rule, and it's called column security. So it has to be within 12. No ambushes. Can't speak. No ambushes can be placed within 12 inches of this, but he also has to have line of sight. So if they're on the other side of that building, let me get the building out here. So we got this building, move the woods out of the way, and they want to ambush on the other side of that building. Well, I'm out of luck. Because he does, even though they're within 12, I don't have line of sight. Now, if I need to move this further up, there we go. If I'm over here, now they cannot be placed there, but they can be placed on the other side. However, if there's a whole bunch of these things in ambush, let's say there's 12 guys in ambush, it's going to be hard to hide them behind that building, or they could be in. No, but I'd have line of sight to the window, so I'd be able to see into the room, so they can't do that. So that's the special. That's why I thought this thing deserved its own video, because it does do some really special things. It does have some special rules, and I'm really liking my AOP now. And for 40 points, it's a really good deal, I think, for my artillery. So that's all I've got in this video. The next video, I believe, is I'm actually going to talk about the starting step. Yes. Yep. And that should hopefully be pretty short, because I've laid the groundwork with how you move, well, not how you move, but the belled out, pinned down, the morale checks and all that is going to be covered now in the starting step, and that starting step is going to make more sense now. Because if I said, okay, you make a company morale check, you're like, what does that mean? Now you know what a company morale check means. So my next video will be about the starting step. So until next time, have a good game.